My name is Michelle Machado. I'm the site support instructor at Sitton Elementary. We're located in Portland, Oregon, and we've had a spirit box for 3 years. We initially were interested in getting a spirit box to support our PBIS systems that we have here at Sitton Elementary. That's positive behavior and incentive systems. Yeah, we use the Spirit Box here at Sutton for our third through fifth graders as a tier one support for all of our students. And really, it's about engagement and getting kids excited to be at school and making school a fun place for them to be. It's just one of those extra pieces that students have really enjoyed. And so our school climate has benefited from having the Spirit Box. We had a large fund of money that we needed to spend before the end of a school year came to a close. And we were looking at different ways that we could invest that money into our school. With all of the options that we had available to us, it seemed like the one that rose to the top, again, because of the engagement with a wide group of our students, was able to best fit that need. We have noticed a difference in students. We've also implemented a bunch of different additional changes at the school. And so I think that the combined effect of everything has really impacted our school climate in a positive way. And the Spirit Box, again, it really focuses on our kids in third through fifth grade. There are some incidences where we use it as a tier two support for our second grade students. Yeah, so for example, like tier one would be practices that are implemented across like the entire, so for every student, all students get it. So tier one is like universal primary prevention. We're explicitly teaching all students that they have to they're raising the bar. This is the expectation around the coins. And then for tier two, you're looking at more targeted, like secondary prevention, and you have maybe 10% of students in a school who would fall under this kind of tier two grouping. And so this might be students who are need a little bit of additional opportunity for positive reinforcement, or they need some additional instruction or support or practice around behavior, social emotional learning, or academic skills. And as needed, based on the students who are in that kind of tier two group, if there was a student who was raising the bar in their own way, for example, they have been a student who was needing that social emotional piece or the behavioral piece, and they demonstrated that they were able to meet the behavior expectation and without being asked or whatnot, for example. And so that would be like, wow, you did the thing. No one had to even prompt you or remind you. Awesome job. You have earned yourself a token. And we use that in isolated in cases for our second grade students. Yeah, we initially wanted to roll it out slowly. And so we started with fifth grade. And then a few months later, we added fourth grade. And before the end of that school year, we added third grade. And initially, we had the conversation that we had planned on opening it up school wide the following school year. And we decided as a school team that it made the most sense just to continue to focus on grades 3 through 5, because kids in kindergarten through second are still they're learning how to do school, and developmentally we were concerned that they would not be able to keep track of the coins and things like that, and we didn't want it to become one of those situations that was creating a lot of sadness and disappointment around it, and also providing an opportunity for students once they got in those upper grades to have something to look forward to. We did try it for a very short period of time with our second graders and across the board, and it just we decided to not do that except in limited situations for a tier two incentive. Absolutely. So initially, in our first year of operation, we had made the decision to give all students in grades 3 through 5 a universal income. So every month, each student in grades 3 through 5 was given a token just to get a token from a universal income standpoint. And we decided after 1 year of implementation that was not fitting our goal and meeting our goal, and kids were expecting that, and there wasn't really a reason behind why they were getting it other than showing up for school, and which is expected and legally required. So we no longer use the spirit box as the tokens as a form of universal income. And so now students, we call it raising the bar, if you will. So every student is expected to behave and do the certain things that we do at school. And so this is for students, the tokens are given to students who are showing our core values here at Sitton, but in a way that's raising the bar above what the expectation of our core values are. And here at Sitton, our core values are integrity, si se puede, teamwork, kindness, flexibility, and joy. And so we center tokens around those core values and when students raise the bar above the expectations. So, for example, kindness, being kind out at recess is expected, but let's say the student organized a game that had fair play involved and included students who they don't normally play with, maybe two classes together instead of focusing on students just within their own class. So that would be an example of raising the bar. So they're doing the expected thing, but at a level that is beyond just that baseline expectation. And so that would be something that a student could earn a token for. Another example for academic work could be students are writing a paragraph, for example, and they're sharing out their paragraphs. And one student has chosen to use a higher level of vocabulary, or let's say that this student had really struggled with proficiency at writing that paragraph, but for the first time they were able to persevere, engage in that productive struggle, and get through the paragraph on their own. And so, depending on where the students are in their academic journey, we meet them where they're at. And so, raising the bar for one student might look a little different than raising the bar for another student, but they are doing the expectation and bringing it above a next level up. And so, maybe their paragraph, for the example with the student who was using a higher level of vocabulary, maybe that sharing out of that paragraph opened up a whole new conversation based on the vocabulary words that that student had chose to use. And so that facilitated a higher level conversation that brought the whole class up. It's really exciting to see what the students pick out, and we have experimented with a bunch of different options within this for the Spirit Box over the years. We started with just some things that we thought were kid friendly and that adults were excited about. Then we invested some time in with our student council, which is student leaders in grades 3 through 5, who had surveyed their peers to find out what things that peers were interested in. And we had a discussion around it. And then the student council voted on, I think it was 20 items that they would like to see in the Spirit Box. And we've also have a comment box. We have removed that this year, but last year we had a comment box where students could put their ideas for what they would like to see in the Spirit Box. And so we've experimented with a bunch of different things, but students really like our 3rd through 5th grader students really are into slime or the putty. So that has probably been the number one item for 3 years running now. It's been this constant, I'm refilling it constantly. And so we have a couple of different levels of slime, if you will. So we have a very entry level 2 tokens, which is the bottom tray. So if you got 2 tokens, you can get a really tiny little party size slime. Or for 10 tokens or 12 tokens, you can get a much larger option. So a larger container, or maybe one that has some toys that you mix into it, glitter and things like that. And so there's a couple of different levels or price points, if you will, for that option. And students have really enjoyed that. Our students really love the Squishmallows. And so we have a few different sizes of Squishmallows. One's again a really small one for 2 tokens. We have a medium-sized one for I think it's 10 tokens, and then there's a very large one for 16 tokens. And so there's been different levels of those. We've tried different like seasonal things, like in the winter. It doesn't snow around here, but it does get quite cold with the rain. It just like seeps in, and you get this wet cold that just doesn't seem to shake off very easily. So we do have little like warm like gloves in there that students can get in the winter time. In the summer, closer to summer times, we put sunglasses in there, and those have been fun. Fall, the kids who play contact sports really love the mouth guards, so we put mouth guards in there, and that has been consistently one of the things that like the fifth grade boys, for example, want really bad. And so they fly out of the spirit box during football season and things like that. And so those have been some of the more popular items. We do have a service dog here at Sitton Elementary as well, named Lander, who is just a huge hit around here. Everybody loves Lander. And we have had in the past, we haven't had it this year, but the last 2 years we had lunch with Lander. And so students could select lunch with Lander. We also had Lander socks made with Lander's picture on it. And so those were really cute and really fun, and kids love those. So those have been some of the fun things that kids have that have been memorable, I think, that kids really enjoy and have gotten a lot of good use out of. That's a good question. And I think it's multifaceted, the answer. So part of it is that we have a school-wide culture here that we've really worked hard to explicitly teach that the fidgets that kids often have, slime included, is a tool, not a toy. And so that expectation that you're using it as a tool while you're in school holds with the slime. So it's not a toy to have out and be playing with while you're supposed to be doing math work. If you need it for a calming device, then it could be a tool that you could use to help you calm down if you were in a break space or something like that. Students are allowed to bring items out on recess, and there's more flexibility there. But again, we are explicitly teaching the difference between it's out on recess and during time in the classroom. If it becomes a problem, such as it's being used as a toy, we ask students to put it in their backpack, or a teacher will hold on to it to the end of the day and then give it back to them at the end of the day, or give it to their families to bring home. Because we did have a conversation around at the very beginning of the implementation of the Spirit Box about how these weren't tokens aren't to be traded. We had some examples of I'll give you 15 cupcakes for my last pack of Skittles for 2 of your tokens, right? And so we really set the bar high and explicitly done a lot of explicit teaching around these are not traded, they're yours. You need to keep them as if they were money. We do give students a little coin bag as well, which they can decorate and personalize, and then they're encouraged to keep their tokens in their coin bag. Third and fourth graders are encouraged to keep them in a safe place in school. Fifth graders can bring them back and forth. But again, if they leave them at home, they can't use them. Or if they lose them, it's just like you would be losing your $100 bill if you had one of those in your wallet. And so teaching norms around how we keep track of our stuff and hold on to it. Yeah, we met as a staff. So our office staff and a number of teachers got together just to have a conversation about what kinds of norms we wanted to have around the Spirit Box, what kind of things that we needed to do to prep our students. So after that meeting, our principal put together a short slide deck presentation for students with some role playing options in there. So some scenarios. Here's this thing happening. Would that qualify for a token? Yes or no? And so we would go through there's about 5 examples that we led each class, third through fifth grade, through, and our principal met with each classroom individually. And then we also had some shared conversations during our lunchtime when all of the classrooms in one grade were together. And students are only allowed to use the Spirit Box during lunch after they have finished their lunch. So they get their lunches, sit down, eat. Once they have finished their food, dump their tray, they can They can sit down, raise a silent hand, and then ask for permission to use the spirit box. And if they forgot their coins, like they left them in their desk, they're not allowed to go back to the classroom to get them. They have to remember to bring them with them to the cafeteria. Yeah, I think it helps to support their patience for one and not getting that instant gratification. Yes, they got a token, but one token does not get you. You can't buy anything in a spirit box for one token. You need at least two. And we also have raised it from being 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 tokens. It's 2, 4, 8, 12, 16 tokens now. And so for the highest priced items, it can take a while for those students to save up 16 tokens. And so lots of patience, that executive functioning around that, and a lot of motivation to keep go working towards the thing that they really want. And so especially those higher priced items. So I think the perseverance to just keep on going, the si se puede, so to say, is there. Everyone really likes it. Yeah, I think people really enjoy it. I still see staff even like looking in there and be like, I want one of those. Like, how do I get one of those? And so that's been really fun. We don't open it up right away at the beginning of the school year. We wait until about like October 1st or so to open it up. So there's this build up. We have everything in there. It's all ready to go. It's fully stocked. It looks great. Kids are getting really excited about it. And so after we go through our like whole school routines and practice those, and kids have had a chance to get that in their brains and bodies, then we open it up. And so there's that kind of like kids are really excited and there's this anticipation that's building. And so they just get really excited about that, and the teachers do too. And the teachers have also given ideas on things that they would like to see in the spirit box as well, or maybe they have a particular cultural item that they think might be a really good fit for students, and so they have been invested in that way as well. I think where it has really streamlined things is streamlining our incentives that we have here at the school, and that we have developed a set of shared practices now around incentives and really focusing on leveraging the Spirit Box. And so that has leveled the bar for our incentives with teachers and normalized our incentive programs. And so instead of having individual teachers doing different things, or one classroom in one grade doing one thing and then a different classroom in the same grade doing something different, we're all on the same page now. And so we've normalized that across the school. And so I think that has created a sense of efficiency with our incentive programs, and then being really intrinsically motivated instead of extrinsically motivated, even though they are getting a token to purchase something in the spirit box. Really, the reasons kids get a token in the first place is by raising the bar and doing that intrinsic motivation around doing the right thing versus the expectation or extrinsic benefit around getting the token and the coin. I think to make sure you have your expectations, school-wide expectations really clear for the adults in the building, and to have a pre-thought out how students would earn tokens and kind of what that looks like and what it doesn't look like. And so those like scenario things. And I think having that and explicitly teaching those expectations in each classroom is really important. And to have all of that kind of pre-thought out before you just walk into a classroom and introduce it. The other thing that I had a learning curve with, and I've run vending machines in the past, so I had a little bit of pre-existing knowledge around this. However, one thing that I think that kind of I found to be a bit more challenging is making sure you find items that actually fit in the spirit box and measuring the amount of space that you have, both height and width, to make sure that those products fit in there so that you're not buying things that don't fit. And having a way for items that are smaller that cannot really be contained in and of themselves within the spirit box. For example, those little tiny things of slime fit right through the coils. And so I have to tape them onto an individual piece of cardstock in order for them to stand upright and then dispense out of the machine. And then things like principle of the day or lunch with Lander, things that are going to be constantly renewing items rather than thinking about less waste and being more efficient. We came up with this block system. And so we had little pieces of wood that we made sure the edges were really smooth and not rough. And then we would like glue a picture on here that says principal for a day with a picture of our principal. And then on the back it says, please turn this into Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so to redeem. And then this person puts it back on my desk and then I refill the spirit box with the same block. And so having systems set up like that or thinking about systems like that to use in the spirit box so that you're not constantly having to remake or print items. You can reuse them or have things prepped. I have a bunch of little index cards like cut in half that are right size ready to go for when that slime runs out. So I can just quickly tape them on there and refill the box. So I think that those things are really important. And then also taking some time at the beginning of the setup to learn how to, what's the word I'm looking for? Tokens sometimes will get stuck if kids put too many tokens in at one time. It'll jam up the machine. And so knowing how to get those tokens out, where they could possibly be jammed in the machine. But I think that kind of troubleshooting those possible scenarios like ahead of time with staff and having more than one staff member knowing how to do that in case that staff member is absent or sick or for whatever reason is not able to support in that moment, that there's another person in the building who knows how to do that. And that way you're not like having to troubleshoot that process like right there and then when the machine is jammed. And it doesn't get jammed very often, but it does happen. And that way you're able to just quickly go in there, open up the coin box, get the jam out and move kids along with their day rather than having to wait till after school, figure it out, make a phone call, and then kids get there the next day. They're still excited about it, but it's lost a little bit of the excitement because they didn't get it right then. I know that one of the really amazing features of our spirit box is that the designs on the side of the spirit box is a student drawing. So it's student artwork that we put on the side. And so that's just a really cool, special thing that I think about our spirit box. And that really lifts up that student voice and student engagement and shows that we really care about the students.